Hello guys, today we are going to study the verb patterns. It has to do with the structure, it has to do with order, and this is going to be the first topic of our third partial. I want you to take into consideration that this topic is going to be more useful for your written English instead of your spoken English. Remember that the main objective that we have for this partial is that you are going to create a documentary. So in the documentary, I need you to use the forms that we are going to study with this topic, as well as the one that we are going to study with the passive voice. So please be very careful with these rules. What is this topic about? This topic is mainly about rules of writing. Okay, you are going to imagine that in normal sentences we tend to have more than one verb. What is going to happen when you have more than one verb? Okay, the rule says that whenever you have two verbs in the same sentence, you cannot use them in the same form. Okay, so for example, here we have two examples. We have letter A and we have letter B. So in letter A, we have I want to buy an electric car. As you can see, we have the verb want and we have the verb to buy. What happens here? Whenever you have two verbs that are together, you are not going to use them in the same form. As you can see, want is going to be in the simple form, and to buy is going to be written in a form that we call the to infinitive. Okay, so in the following presentation, I am going to explain you which are the forms that you are going to use. We have in letter A the one that is called the to infinitive, and in letter B, as you can see, we have I hate driving. We have an ing form here, and those are the ones that we are going to call the gerunds. Okay, so what are the rules that we are going to study? We are going to study the use of to infinitives, the ones that I mentioned first, and then the use of gerunds, that is the second example. Okay, so if you didn't understand this part, please write down your questions so I can solve them in the conference. So the following topics, the ones that we're going to study, as I was telling you, they are going to be the use of to infinitive, the use of gerunds, and the use of a special form of verbs that is going to be called the base infinitive. Okay, so we are going to study with the to infinitive. We are going to start with the to infinitive. What is an infinitive? Or a verb that is composed by the preposition to and then the normal forms that you already know. Okay, you have, for example, here the ones that you have here in the green square. They are the verbs that we call the to infinitive. What do we call them like that? It is very easy. You have the preposition to, and then you have the verb in the simple form, the one that you already know, the one that you are very familiar with. Okay, so what is a to infinitive? There is no other thing than the verb with the preposition to. Okay, we are going to use these verbs, the to infinitives, the ones that you have here. You are going to use them in different ways. The first way is that you are going to express purpose. What does that mean? That whenever you want to say why you are doing the things, you are going to use a to infinitive to express that purpose. Okay, in Spanish, the word purpose means propósito. So whenever you want to say the purpose of one of your actions, you are going to use it to infinitive. So for example, when you say I am studying English to have a better job, you are telling us why you are studying English. What is the reason here? Well, that you want to have a better job. The same with the following ones. For example, we have he studied law to earn a lot of money. What is the reason for this action? That you want to earn a lot of money. And finally, the third one, it says he will study vet to help animals. What is the reason that he's studying vet? Very easy. They want to help animals. Okay? So whenever you want to express purpose, remember you are going to use the to infinitive. Then, the second use that you are going to find here is when you have this kind of expressions. Whenever you have a determiner, remember there is going to be this kind of words that we have, such as something, somewhere, nothing, or anything. Whenever you have those words and the following word is a verb, you are going to use a to infinitive with them. So for example, when you say yesterday I had nothing to say about the football match, what does that mean? You have a determiner nothing, and in front of it you are going to find to say. In the second example, it says Sandy gave me something to show you. You have the determiner something, and then you are going to have a to infinitive. The third example, very easy. I don't have anything to do. Again, we have the determine anything, and then you are going to write, please, a to infinitive. Okay? So we have discussed two uses. Please, if they are not clear, write down your questions so I can solve them in the conference, in the next class. Okay? We are going to continue with the third use. You are going to use also the to infinitive whenever you have these nouns, such as chance, opportunity, decision, effort, and time. Okay? Whenever you are going to write a word after these nouns, you are going to use the verb in the to infinitive form. Okay? So for example, we have, I am making the effort to learn English. You have the word effort and then a to infinitive. Then you are going to have, we've made the decision to buy a house. You have the noun decision, and as the following word is a verb, you are going to use them in the to infinitive. Then you have, Joe took the chance to study abroad. You have the noun chance, and so the following word, that is a verb, you are going to use it in the to infinitive. So please be very careful with that. Okay? The fourth use that you are going to have for the to infinitive verbs is whenever you have this structure. You are going to have a subject, a verb to be in any tense. It can be present, it can be past, it can be future, an adjective, and after that, as you are describing something, you are going to use a to infinitive in front of this structure. Okay, so for example, we are going to write, this class is hard to understand. As you can see in this sentence, we have the structure. We have the subject, it is this class, a verb to be, there is is, and an adjective, there is hard. After this structure, you are going to use a to infinitive that in this case is going to be to understand. Okay, the following example is pretty much the same. As you can see, we have this coffee, this is my subject, was is my verb to be, too hot is my adjective, and then a to infinitive as I am describing something. Okay, and finally, when you have English movies are boring to watch, the same, you have English as your subject, then are as your verb to be, boring as an adjective, and then the following word that we said, it is a to infinitive verb. Okay, so be very careful with that. Those are structures that you need to remember. Take into account that we are talking about order, so I need you to respect this order whenever you are going to use this kind of structures. Okay, again, if you have any question with this order, please write down your questions so I can solve them during our conference in the next class. And finally, guys, you are going to use the to infinitive verbs with a list of 40 verbs that I am going to provide. I am going to send you a manual, okay? And I want you to look for the list that are going to be included in that manual, okay? You are going to read them, and the only way in which we can use this rule, the one that I am explaining right now, is that you need to memorize them. There is no other way. The list of verbs that you are going to use with to infinitive verbs are going to be 40. Okay, here I only choose 4. You are going to find these verbs in the list that I am going to provide. Okay, but the idea is the following. Whenever you have a verb in the list, for example, decided, agreed, would like, and deserve, whenever you find this list of verbs, your following verb is the one that is going to be written in the to infinitive. For example, the verb decide is in the list. And if you want to use another verb in front of decide, the right form to write that verb is going to be the to infinitive. Okay? So for example, we are going to have, I've decided to study Japanese. You have the verb on the list, and the following verb is going to be a to infinitive. Then the second example, it says, they agreed to throw a party. Okay, agreed again, guys, is going to be in the list of the to infinitive. What is the rule? That if you are going to write another verb, you need to write it in the infinitive form, in the to infinitive form. Okay, the following one is going to be would like. The same, you have the verb on the list, and the following one must be written in the to infinitive form. Okay, and my fourth example, it says he deserved to win the Nobel Prize. you have the word in the list, and again the following verb, guys, is going to be written into infinitive. As I was telling you, these 4 verbs are not the only one that you need to study. Actually, you have 40 verbs to use this way, so I want you to be very careful with that. And I am going to provide you the material in which you are going to have the complete list, so don't worry about this, okay? And continuing with the infinitive, we are going to study another kind of infinitive that is called the very infinitive. What is the meaning of this name? Okay, in the other examples, we tend to use a preposition to. In this example, we are not going to use a preposition to. Those are the verbs that I usually call simple form verbs. Okay, what is a very infinitive? It is a verb in the simple form. There is no other way to understand it. Okay, the rules in which you are going to use a very infinitive are very easy. Okay, you are going to use it especially after modal verbs, the ones that we have been studying before, especially in level 6. Okay, for example, whenever you have a modal verb such as must or can or should, you are going to use a very infinitive or a verb in the simple form. That I think that you are more familiar with that name, with the name verb in the simple form. Then in the letter B, you are going to use it also when you have the expressions such as would better or would rather. For example, when you have I better finish my homework or I'd rather go to bed early. So remember that these expressions in Spanish, it must be something like sería mejor si, preferiría que. So in that way you are going to understand these expressions. And finally, the letter C, the third example in which you are going to use the very infinitive, they are going to be after the list of verbs that you have here, and those ones are actually the only ones that you are going to use. As you can notice, they are verbs of the senses. You have hear, you have notice, you have see, you have smell, you have watch, observe, let, and feel. Whenever you use one of these verbs, guys, you are going to use an object that is the person that receives the action, and then you are going to write a verb in the simple form. Okay, so for example, here you have I heard you call me from the other side of the room. You have here a normal verb, then you have a subject that in this case is you, and then after that you are going to write call, a verb in the simple form. Then you have the verb let. For example, it says let them study alone. Again, you have the main verb that is going to be let, then the object that is going to be them, and then a verb in the simple form that is going to be study. And finally, you have I've noticed your crush look at you all the time. So you have the normal verb that is going to be notice, then the object that is going to be your crush, and then the verb in the simple form that is going to be look. Okay, so those are the uses of the very infinitive. They are very short, as you can see. Actually, the most complicated one that we are going to have is the other one, the to infinitive. So I want you to check this topic little by little. Please rewatch the video so you can tell me in the conference any question you have. And in the second part, in the one that I am going to record later, I am going to explain the use of the gerund. So please first study again this class, and whatever question you have, guys, we are going to solve it in the conference. So please be very, very careful with that, with the things that you don't understand. And in the following video, I am going to continue with the use of the gerunds.